the Power Pivot. Once after loading the tables into the Power Pivot, we'll do data modeling here. Between the tables, we'll establish the relationship. So once you have the tables, once you have the relationships, when you go and try to create the visuals, you can create only 70 to 80% of visuals, 70 to 80%. So clients will tell us, clients will give some data to us, clients will tell us to build some visuals. They'll tell us, show me sales. So clients will tell us to show some information. Show me the total sales, show me the state-wise sales, show me the region-wise sales and percentage of sales. Whatever they need, they will let us know. Once after giving the data, whatever the information they want to see in the visuals, they will tell us like this: sales, state-wise sales, region-wise sales, and percentage sales. So you will what to do that? What you will do? You will bring the data to Power Pivot, and you will do the data modeling. You will establish the relationships. You will try to create that visuals. When I try to create that visuals, I might not create all the visuals what client is asking. I might not show the information what client is asking. I can just show 70 to 80% approximately information what client is asking. So clients will ask us to show some information. Clients will ask us to show some information, guys, in visuals. With the data model, we can show only 70 to 80% of information what client is asking. Clients will give some data sources to us, and they will ask us to show some information in the visuals. Only two things they will tell you. Tomorrow when you join in the company, they'll tell two things. They'll tell you something about their data source, what data they're storing here, how they are storing here, and they'll tell you what they're expecting here, and they'll tell you what visuals they're expecting. So clients will give some data sources. Clients will give data sources, and they will even explain what data is there, how the data is storing. All the clients will explain, and clients will ask us to show some information in the visuals. Once after giving the data sources, they will ask us to show some information in the visuals. For showing the information in the visuals, we know that we will extract, transform, load the data into the Power Pivot. Once after loading the data into the Power Pivot, the data we will try to show it in the visuals. The data we will try to show in the visuals. Perfect. Now, so with the data model, we can create hardly 70 to 80% of visuals. Or you can show 70 to 80% of information. Now if you want to create 100% of visuals, let me give you an example. I'll bring some tables here. Close this. Let me load some tables into the Power Pivot. You can even do it using get data, or you can go to transform data. I'll bring some tables which my client was provided. Click on Excel, sample superstore, bring some tables. I'll bring some more tables from another source. Click on new source. This time EMP DEPT, click on open. I want EMP table, DEPT table, and managers table. Press OK. Once you bring the tables here, we'll go and transform the data in the tables. Once you are done with transforming the data in the tables, we can load the tables to Power Pivot. Once after loading the tables to Power Pivot, we can go and do the data modeling work. So we need to go to model view, and we need to do the data modeling work. We need to go to model view, and we need to do the data modeling work. Let it load. It is loading. Let them load first. Once after loading the tables, right, you can see the tables in the Power Pivot, and you want to observe, is there any missing relationships? If there is any missing relationships, go and establish them. I want to create some visuals on orders table and returns table. First of all, you need to have the relationship, establish it. Once we are done with data modeling, you can go to report view. You can start creating the visuals here. So client asked me to show some information, right? In the visuals, you need to start creating the visuals. You need to start showing the information here. Let me quickly do something here. So client is asking to show what is the total salary we are paying. So when client is asking to show what is the total salary we are paying, I can take one card visual and I can drag the salary column, and it can show what is the total salary, guys. By default, when you drag numeric column in Power BI, it will sum all the values and it will show total salary. Fine, this visual is complete. So again, client is asking to show, can you show me each job wise how much salaries we are paying? So I have different jobs here. I want to show each job wise how much salary we are paying. To show each job wise how much salary we are paying, I can take one pie chart. I can go and present each job wise how much salaries we are paying. Or else I can go and use that in other visual. Each job wise how much salaries I'm paying, I'll try to show in the tree map here. Each job wise, what are the salaries we are paying? Let me enable the data labels. So each job, how much salaries we are paying? Total we are paying 39K. For each job, how much salaries we are paying? We are showing here. Each job, how much salaries we are paying? We are showing here. Now my client is asking to show, can you show me each employee wise how much salaries we are paying? To show each employee wise how much salaries we are paying, I'm taking one table visual. I'll drag employee name and I can even drag salary. So I'm able to show each employee how much salary we are paying. Along with the salary, they're asking to show commission also. Drag the commission. Along with the commission, they're asking to show total salary also. So salary plus commission together, they're asking to show here total salary. So when I want to show total salary, when you go to the EMP table, are you finding any column with the total salary? I don't have that. When I go to EMP table, I have employee name, I shown it. I have salary, I shown it. I have commission, I shown it. But I don't have total salary. I don't have total salary. I'm not showing it. Yes, guys, I don't have total salary. I'm unable to show it. This visual is incomplete. This visual is incomplete. Same way, what my client is asking to show is, show me employee wise, each employee on what date he joined in the company. Client is asking to show employee name, on which date he joined in the company. To show employee name, go here, drag the employee name column, and I want to show on what date he joined in the company. So hide date is the date. When you drag the date column in Power BI, by default it will split the date to year, quarter, month, and day. So we call this as hierarchy. What is this hierarchy? Why it is creating that hierarchy? We'll discuss in Power View. I don't want hierarchy now. I just want to show the data. Here I have the data. I want to show the data as it is. I don't want hierarchy here. What you can do is select the hide date, click on this down button, change it to hide date, guys. So previously in the hide date, you have what? Hierarchy, date hierarchy. When I have date hierarchy, it is showing like this. I don't want date hierarchy. Click on this. I need hide date. So now you got the date. So along with this, client is asking to show, okay, you are showing employee name. Employee name, let me go and add some vertical grid lines. So you are showing employee name there and hide date. Along with the employee name and hide date, client is asking to show, can you show me experience in years here? Experience in years. So each employee, how many years of experience they have, client is asking to show. When I go to the EMP table, do I have any experience column here? No. Clients will ask us to show some new information in the visuals, which is not available in the tables. Let me write here. All the times, whatever the information client is asking to show in the visuals, all the times, whatever the new information we need to show in the visuals, it will not be readily available in the tables. It will not be readily available in tables. It will not be readily available in tables or model. The model which we created, the collection of tables and relationships, we call it as model. So all the times, whatever the information I need to show in the visuals, it will not be readily available in the tables or models. When it is not readily available, what you need to do? The data model which I created, that is not having the information which I need to show in the visuals. When it is not readily available, we need to go and make changes to the data model. So changing the data model, we call it as enhancing the data model. So as part of enhancing the data model, what we will do is, whatever the new information client is asking to show, we'll create that new information using existing information, guys. Look at this here. Here client is asking to show some new information which is not available in my table. That is total salary. So I want to create this new information. To create this new information, you don't need to bring it from outside. You just need to use the existing information called salary and commission. Salary and commission. Same way, in this, I want to show experience in years. To show experience in years, I don't want to bring the information from outside. I can use the existing information. To get the experience, I can use hide date. So what you need to do is, you need to take current date, system date minus hide date will give the experience, guys. System date minus hide date, today's date minus hide date, it will give experience. Fine. So whenever we need to create any new information, you don't want to bring that from outside. You need to create it using existing information. Whenever I need to create some new information, so only existing information is not sufficient. Only with existing information you are not able to create it. One thing we will use is existing information. Along with this, we'll use DAX language, guys. Along with this existing information, we want to use DAX language to create the new information. Fine. DAX stands for Data Analysis Expressions Language. Data Analysis Expressions Language. Data Analysis Expressions Language. So we call this as functional language. Functional language. If you see C language, we call it as programming language. Java language, we call it as programming language. And same way, this DAX, D stands for data, A stands for analysis, X stands for expressions. We call it as functional language. Why? Because DAX is all about functions. When you go to here, Power Pivot is the place where DAX will come into the picture. DAX is all about functions. When I go to the DAX, you will see a lot of functions here. Different categories of functions you will find. So there are text functions, logical functions, date and time functions, filter functions, mathematical and statistical functions, time intelligence function. There are different categories of functions we have. So when we are writing the formulas, we need to use these functions. When we need to derive this new information, we need to use these functions, guys. So all these are functions. When you go to date and time, there are a lot of date and time functions like year, quarter, month, today. Lot of date and time functions you have it. We need to calendar auto. We need to use these functions whenever we need to derive the new information. So as DAX is all about functions, people are calling it as functional language. So what DAX language will contain is, DAX language will contain DAX functions. Mostly DAX functions, guys. It contains functions. Along with the functions, it will even contain DAX operators. You need to use the functions and operators together. So DAX will even contain operators. Look at this. So in how other languages, in C language you have operators, in Java language you have operators. Even in the DAX language, every computer language will have operators, arithmetic operators. So these are the arithmetic operators we have based on our requirement. Whenever I need to derive some new information, I might use these operators. Comparison operators, text concatenation operator. logical operators. We have some operators here. We can start using them. For what purpose, guys? For deriving the new information. So on the whole, whenever I need to derive some new information, I can use this three combination, guys. I can use existing information, DAX functions, DAX operators, three. So with the help of this three, we'll go and create the new information. Sometimes I want to create some new information. To create this new information, only existing information and DAX functions are sufficient. With this two, I can create this new information. Sometimes I want to create some new information. To create that new info with the existing information and the DAX operators, with this two itself, I can create it. So based on my requirement, I might complete with only existing information and DAX functions sometimes. Sometimes based on my requirement, I can complete with existing information and DAX functions. So based on our requirement, we will use them, guys. We'll use them. Let me show where we will create the new information. Okay, you are telling that we need to create the new information. New information will be created in data view. So data modeling you have done in model view, and the new information you need to create in data view. Let me write here. New information will be created in data view. Data view is the place where we'll create the new information. The navigation is, so go to the data view, and select the table where we need to create the new information. So when you go to the data view, you can see table. Select table where we need to create new information. Where we need to create the new information. I just need to see, when I go to the data view, I can find all the tables in the right hand side. I need to go and select in which table I want to create the new information. Let me complete this visual first. I'll complete this visual first for now. So I want to show total salary here, right? The relevant table here is which table? EMP table. So where you need to create total salary is related to EMP table. I want to create the new information in EMP table. Go to the data view, select the EMP table. As soon as you select, you can see table tools. In the table tools, you'll see calculations. Calculations are the place where we will create the new information, guys. Just go and click on table, select the table. You'll see table tools. In the table tools, you'll see calculations. And calculations are the place where we'll go and create the new information, guys. What kind of new information we'll create in Power Pivot is, we'll create columns sometimes, we'll create measures, and we'll create tables. So in Power Pivot, they might ask you in the interview, so what kind of new information you created in Power Pivot? You need to tell them you created columns, you created measures, you created tables. To create the columns, measures, and tables, we need to write some formulas. While writing the formulas, what are the things you will use? You need to write some formulas to derive the new information. In the formula, what things you'll use? Keep in mind, we'll use existing information. Existing information is nothing but existing columns. Along with the existing information, I will use DAX functions. And along with the DAX functions, I'll use DAX operators if required. Along with the DAX functions, I'll even use DAX operators if required. These are the three things we used to write the formulas. That formula will derive. If you want columns, it will derive. If you want measures, it will derive. If you want tables, it will derive. Fine, guys. Now, so we know that data view is the place where we need to derive the new information. And now I'll explain when to create columns, when to create measures, when to create tables. To create the columns, we need to create a column with the option, new column option. So go to the data view, select the table. Whenever we need to create a column, we can use an option called new column option. Whenever we need to create a measure, we'll use an option called new measure option, new measure or quick measure option. Whenever we need to create a table, I might use an option called new table option. New table option. This time, let me write here. Whenever we need to create the column, new column option. Whenever we need to create the measures, You might go with new measure or quick measure option. You'll understand the difference. You might go with new measure or quick measure option. Quick measure option. And when you want to create a table, we'll create an option. We'll create the tables with what? New table option, guys. We'll create the table with new table option. Fine. So, but client will just tell us what they want here. It's our responsibility to show that information. You need to understand whether you need to create the column, whether you need to create the measure, whether you need to create the table. Sometimes to show this information, columns will be helpful. Sometimes to show this information, measures you need to create. Sometimes to show this information, you might need to create the tables. Clients just tell us what they want in the visual. It's our responsibility to understand whether we need to create columns to derive it, whether we need to create measures to derive it. We need to understand this. Fine, perfect. Now let me explain when to create columns. When to create columns. When to create columns is, first thing, columns, right? In the three, first we will talk about columns. So whenever we need to derive a value for every row, a calculation for every row in the table, we'll create columns. So interview they will must and should they'll ask you guys when to derive the columns. Whenever we need to derive a calculation or value, for every row in the table, every row in the table, whenever we need to derive a calculation or a value for every row in the table, we need to create columns, guys. We need to create column, right? So this time, when you want to show total salary for each employee, I need to go to EMP table. In the EMP table, I need to take their salary and commission. I need to show the total salary. I need to take the salary and commission. I need to show the total salary. So in EMP table, for every row, I need to show one value. For every row in the table, if you want to show a value, we need to go and create what? In a table, for every row, if you need to show one value, we need to create columns, guys. We need to create column. Keep in mind, sometimes to show the information here in the visual, we need to go to the table, and in the table we need to create some calculation for every row. We need to take salary and commission for every row. I need to show it up. Clearly I mentioned it. Whenever we need to derive a calculation or a value for every row in the table, we need to go and create columns, guys. You need to go and create columns. Click on new column. Now I want to show total salary, guys. When I want to show total salary, I'll just go here, click on new column. When I click on new column, I can go and give the column name here. So the formula bar will open here. As soon as you click on new column, a formula bar will open here. You can give the column name. The column name I want is total salary. Any name you can give it. So after equal to, you want to write the formula. I said that to derive the columns or to derive the measures, to derive the tables, we need to write formula. You just need to write the formula after the equal to. So in the formula, what I need is, I need to sum salary plus commission. I want to use the column which is there already here. Salary column is there, commission column is there. I need to use it. Whenever we need to use the existing information or existing columns, you're not supposed to write only column name here. When I just go and write salary, the formula will not work. And when I write commission, salary plus commission, the formula is throwing error. So whenever you need to use any existing columns, first you need to write table name. In which table name you have that salary column. First you need to write table name EMP, and then you need to write the column name salary. Then it will work, guys. So you need to write table name square bracket column name plus table name square bracket column name. This time the formula will work perfectly. So now it is not showing any error. So you don't need to type every text, guys. So you don't need to type table name. You don't need to type column name. Just search for salary. So when you search for salary, it will show here. Double click on it. When you double click on it, this column will come here. Or click on tab in the keypad. The column will come here. Plus commission. Just type commission. You'll get it here. If you want to get this to the formula bar, click on tab in the keypad. Tab. So you got it. Once you written the formula, this time to derive the new information, I'm using existing column called salary column, existing column called commission column. Along with the existing information, I am using a DAX operator called plus. DAX arithmetic operator called plus. So this time, look at this. There is a DAX arithmetic operator plus. Whenever we need to add numbers, you can use this arithmetic operator. So I derived this time with existing information and DAX operator. I am able to derive the desired output. Press enter. When you press enter, that formula will execute and it will give the total salary for you. 2450 nothing. 2450. 1900, 16 plus 300, 19. 1250 plus 1400, 2650. You got it here. So let me write DAX table name and column name syntax. DAX table name and column name syntax. DAX table name and column name syntax, guys. Whenever you need to use any column, first you need to write table name. Along with the table name, you need to write column name. Open the square bracket, column name. Column name, guys. For some reasons, table name contains spaces. If you don't have space in the table name, you can just write table name, square bracket, column name. Sometimes what happens is, in the model, in the table name, I might have a space. I might have a space. Let me rename this. I will rename this EMP table to EMP details. EMP details. If you look at this, in the table name, I have two words. The table name is employee details. And I have a space here. Whenever a table name contains spaces, while writing the table name, you need to write the table name in the single quotes, guys. If the table name contains space, you must and should want to mention the table name in the single quotes. So look at this here. Let me go and write this formula. This time, I have a table name which contains space. When there is a space, when I go and write just like this EMP details, open the square bracket, salary column, when I write it, it is throwing error. Why it is throwing error? I said that when the table name contains space, what you need to do? You need to keep must and should in single quotes. That is the reason here it is throwing error. Just go here, keep this in the single quotes. When you keep this in the single quotes, so this time it will not throw error. Plus commission, guys. So when you have a table name with space, automatically it will take single quotes. Single quotes. Keep in mind, for some reasons, if you are typing the name, complete name, when there is any space in the table name, you need to mention them in the single quotes. Otherwise, it will throw error. Now it will execute. And if there is a space in the column name, sometimes you will have space in the column name. When you have space in the column name, what you need to do? Nothing you need to do. When I have a space in the column name, even if you present that in the square brackets, it will work. Even when you present in the square brackets, it will work. Fine, guys. This is DAX table name and column name syntax. If there is no spaces, just write table name, column name. If there is a space in the table name, keep it in single quotes. If there is a space in the column name, no worries, just keep it in the square brackets. It will work. Right. The next one is, the most important one is, so let me rename this before. In the interview point of view, one important question, guys. I'll discuss now. So now I can go and drag. So once you derive the total salary in your table, can you go and drag it here? See, so when there is no space, if you even keep single quotes, they're optional, guys. See, whether you keep it, when there is only one word, you keep it or not an issue. I have only one word here. One word in my EMP table, I have only one word. When I have only one word, if you keep the single quotes, okay, no issue. If you remove them, no issue. So when you have only one word, The single quotes are optional. When you have multiple words, then only the single quotes is mandatory. Now, even when I write without single quotes, it worked. When I write with single quotes, it worked. Now, I have total salary. I can just go and drag it here. So my client is done, satisfied with this visual. The same way, my client is asking to show experience in years here. If you want to show experience in years, I want to do today's date minus hide date. So in any software, to subtract one date from another date, one date from another date, what is the function you need to know? So in the DAX, we have a function with the name date diff, guys. Date diff. This date diff function will subtract one date from another date, one date from another date. So let me write it. I need experience in years. Again, in the EMP table for every employee, I need to get experience for every row. When you need one value, what you need to do? Go to the data view, select the table where we need to create the new information. Go to the table tools. Now, for every row, when you need one value, you need to click on what? New column. And you can give any name, experience in years. I can just go after equal to, I can write my formula. So here you need to start writing the formula. While writing the formula, I need to subtract one date from another date. To do that, there is a function called date diff. There is a function called date diff, guys. I'll use date diff function. What I need to do is, in the date diff, I need to pass date 1, I need to pass date 2, and it will give date 2 minus date 1. So it will do date 2 minus date 1. And once it do date 2 minus date 1, in which interval you want the difference? Whether you want the difference in years, quarters, months, you can give it here. Let's do that now. So to the DAX function, I need to pass some arguments now. Date 1, it will do date 2 minus date 1, right? In the date 2, I need to pass my system date. In the date 1, I need to pass hide date. Then it will do system date minus hide date. Perfect. That is what I need. First, let me take here hide date. Hide date, comma, I need to take my system date here. To take the system date, there is a function in the DAX, today function. There is a date and time function, today function, which will give today function, which will give the today's date. This today function is a DAX function, which will give today's date. And this date diff function will do this date minus this date, today minus hide date. So you want them in what? Take one more comma, and you want the difference in days or difference in years. I want the difference in years. Just take years, close this, guys. Press enter. Now I am able to get experience in years, guys. Now, when an employee joined in 1981, it is almost 40 years before he joined. 40 years of experience. 1987, 34 years of experience. I can just go and drag experience in years. Right? I'm able to show experience in years. Each employee, on what date he joined, how many years of experience you have. Like this, whenever you want to show new information, we need to write some formulas like this. In this formula, you are using DAX functions. Date diff is one DAX function. Today is one DAX function. I'm using DAX functions. I'm using existing information. Sometimes with existing information and DAX functions, you can get the output. Sometimes with the existing information, with the DAX operators, you will get the output. Right. The question here is, so we can even do all this. You can even get total salary in Power Query also. So if you want to derive total salary, you can even derive in the Power Query also. Let me write here. So in interview, they will ask, so we can derive the columns in both Power Query and Power Pivot. Interviewer know that. So columns can be derived in both Power Query and Power Pivot. So which one you will use? Whether you will use Power Query or whether you will use Power Pivot. So let me write here. Columns, new columns can be derived both in Power Query as well as Power Pivot. So which one you will use? Whether you will use Power Query to derive the columns or you will use Power Pivot to derive the columns. Okay. So when you will use Power Query and when you will use Power Pivot, they'll ask you when you will use Power Query to derive the new columns, and when you will use Power Query to derive new columns, or when you will use Power Pivot to derive new columns. When you will use it. So look at this. If I want to get the total salary here, it is not that I want to derive only in the Power Pivot. I can even go to Power Query. Let me show guys how many columns you have here in the EMP table now. In the EMP table, the original 8 columns are there. Along with the original 8 columns, I have 2 more columns. Total salary and experience in years. Along with the original 8 columns, I have 2 more columns. Totally 10 columns are there. How to go to Power Query now? I want to go to Power Query now. If you want to go to Power Query, you just need to go to Home tab, click on Transform Data. When I go to Transform Data, in EMP table, go and check it how many columns you will have. In EMP table, how many columns I have? Only 8 columns. What are the columns you have? Till department number. If you see here, I don't have total salary column here. It is not showing in the Power Query, and it is not showing experience in years. Why it is not showing, guys? Why it is not showing in the Power Query? You derived it, right? In Power Pivot, you have the 2 columns in the EMP table. So keep in mind, whatever you derived in the Power Query, it will show in the Power Pivot. It will show in the Power Pivot. Whatever you derived in the Power Pivot, it will not show in the Power Query. It will not show in the Power Query. Whatever you derived in the Power Pivot, it will not go back. You can use that in the next only. You can use that in the next visuals. The same way, whatever you make the changes in the Power Query, they will not go back. They will not go back. Whatever the changes you made, they will go forward only. They will go forward. Whatever the changes you made in Power Query, they'll go to Power Pivot. Whatever the changes you made in Power Pivot, you can use it in Power View. Whatever the visuals you have done here, you can send it to Power BI service. They will go forward only. They will not go backward. Fine, guys. Now the question is, when we will go and use Power Query to derive the new columns. So let me go to Power Query. I can even get the total salary here. How can you get it? So first let me replace null values with 0 here. In commission column, I want to replace null values with 0. Select the commission column, go to the Home tab, click on Replace Values. Click on Replace Values. Wherever the null values are there, I want to replace with 0. When I press OK, it will replace commission with 0. I want to sum these 2 columns, salary column and commission column. I need to sum. I need to get a new column called total salary column. To derive a new column, total salary column, select the salary column, commission column, go to add column. I need to add new column. Once after, with control button, select the 2 columns, go to add column, go to standard, click on add. When you click on add, you will get a new column. This is total salary we are deriving in Power Query, guys. Power Query. So I'm deriving this total salary in where? Power Query. So even you are getting 2450 plus nothing, 2450. 1600 plus 300, 1900. So if you want to load this, you can click on close and apply. When I click on close and apply, it will load this data to Power Pivot. So here you will get total salary. You'll get total salary here. Just wait, it is loading. You'll get total salary. Whatever you derived in the Power Query, you loaded, you got it. So both are having the same values. Here it is having the same value. Here it is having the same value. To derive this in the Power Query, you no need to write any code. To derive this, you need to write code. Look at this. To derive this, I written the DAX formula. In Power Query, have we written any formula? No, with point and click, we derived it. Let me explain. So when we need to go and derive new columns in Power Query, when you derive the new columns in the Power Query, we have some advantages, guys. So what are the advantages? Someone tell me.
No need to use
no code.
Sorry?
No need to write code.
First advantage is you no need to write the code. No need to write the code to derive the new columns. Yes, this is one advantage. So even in Power Query, when you derive it, it is reusable. Someone is telling that when you derive in the Power Pivot, it is reusable. No, even when you derive in the Power Query, you can reuse it, not an issue. So first one is when you derive the new column in the Power Query, you don't need to write the code. Second, the most important one is, rather than code, the most important one is when you derive the new column in the Power Query, the model size will decrease. Someone tell me. So instead of deriving the new column here, when you derive the new column here, it will reduce the Power Pivot size. What might be the reason, guys? I'm telling. Let me write this point. When we derive new columns in Power Query, Power Pivot model size will decrease. Power Pivot model size will be less. Power Pivot model size will be less. So let me talk about this. So when you derive any new column, what it will do? When I derive any new column, for every row, it will add one. It will derive one new column in your table. For every row, it will show one value. When you have 1 million records in the table, it will show 1 million values here. 1 million values here. True. So when you add a new columns to the table, when you load them, it will occupy some space. What I am trying to explain here is when you derive the new column here, when you load that new columns to Power Pivot, the Power Pivot will occupy less space. So otherwise, when you go and derive the new column here, it will occupy more space. Why? Let me write here. When you derive the new column directly in Power Pivot, it will occupy more space. When we derive new column in the Power Pivot, it will occupy more space. More space. So someone tell me how? We know it.
To compress the data. Power Pivot and compress the data.
Power Pivot and compress the data.
Yes, you are telling that Power Pivot will compress the data. So when you derive the column in the Power Pivot, it will compress it. When you load from Power Query, it will compress it. Then why there is a difference? So when Power Pivot will compress the data is at the time of loading from Power Query to Power Pivot, only that time it will compress the data. When you extract the data, when you transform the data, when you load the data into the Power Pivot, at the time of loading the data, VertiPack engine will come into the picture, or XVelocity in-memory engine will come into the picture, and it will compress the data. Compress the data. Once it compresses the data size will reduce. So, and once after loading the data, when you create any new columns, that compression will not happen. The compression will not happen. The new columns which you are going to derive, it will take the actual size, guys. It will take the actual size. Fine. That is the reason. So better to derive the columns in where? Power Query itself. So these are the advantages when you derive the columns in Power Query. Two advantages. Power Pivot model size will be less, and you don't need to write the code. In the same way, when you derive the new column in Power Pivot, what are the advantages? So what are the advantages? These are the advantages. And when you derive the new column in the Power Pivot, the advantages is, first advantage is performance, guys. First advantage you will have is you will have better performance. We will have better performance. So to derive the new column in the Power Query, let's assume in the Power Query when you derive the new column, it is taking some 5 seconds of time to get the output. Take an example. I have a lot of rows. For a lot of rows, I'm deriving the new column. It is taking 5 seconds. The same new column when I derive in Power Pivot, it will hardly take 2 seconds of time. So when compared to Power Query engine, there are two different softwares. when compared to Power Query engine, Power Pivot engine is powerful. So the performance, see, let's say it is 5 horsepower, and you can tell that it is 10 horsepower. So this engine is powerful, guys. So each one have its own mechanism in the back end. When compared to Power Query software, Power Pivot software is much powerful while performing the calculations. So the disadvantage when you derive the column in the Power Query is, so in Power Query when you derive the column, advantages are this. Disadvantages, so performance will be less. See, when compared to Power Pivot, it is less. See, one thing you need to keep in mind, when compared to Power Pivot, it is less, but actually it is not less. It is okay. So when compared to Power Pivot, it is less. When you compare this Power Query with Power Pivot, it is less. When you directly see it, no problem. It can perform better. Fine. So these are the advantages and disadvantages here. And when it comes to Power Pivot, advantages will have better performance. When you derive the new column, will have better performance. Here the disadvantages is, when we derive the new column in the Power Pivot, it will occupy more space. Not only that, second disadvantage is we need to write the DAX code. We need to write DAX code to derive. We need to write the DAX code to derive new column, guys. Right. So which one is best? Whether I need to derive the new columns in Power Query or whether I need to derive the new columns in Power Pivot, which one is the best? So which one is the best is, so when you have enough space in the Power Pivot, when there is no constraint with the space, you can even derive the new columns here. When I have better space in the Power Pivot, I'll go and derive the new column here. So why? Because I have enough space here, so that I'll get some performance gain. So when I don't have the space here, enough space, I'll derive the new column in the Power Query. When I derive the new column in the Power Query, when I load it, it will occupy less space. So when there is a space issue, we'll derive the new columns in Power Query. So when there is no space issue, we can directly derive them in Power Pivot. So when you derive it, it will give. So client will just want to see what they want in the visual. It's developer call whether he need to derive that new column in the Power Query or Power Pivot. So recommended is Power Query only, guys. Recommended is Power Query only. So when you want to derive something, we'll derive in Power Query, new columns. So in Power Pivot, mostly we derive measures. So I don't say we don't derive the columns in the Power Pivot. Sometimes you will even derive it. When you have enough space, not an issue at all. We can even derive in the Power Pivot. Keep in mind, it's up to us. So majority of the cases we will derive in the Power Query. If you want any additional columns, so that when you load it, it will compress the data. It will compress the data. Yes, you'll prefer to derive the new columns in Power Query, guys. So we understand all about columns now. So now we need to understand when to create the measures. So before we go and do this, anybody have any questions?
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Can we use dash function in Power Query also?
Sorry?
So can we use dash function?
Dash function. Yeah. You need to keep in mind, these are two different softwares. So this is petrol car, this is diesel car. So can you go and fill the petrol here? No. So the same way, you can use DAX only in the Power Pivot. It is a separate software. You can use only M language in Power Query. M language cannot be used in Power Pivot. DAX language cannot be used in Power Query. Not possible.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, when we go with direct query connectivity mode,
Sir, then
One by one.